Here we go. How's that? Weird, right? That's a strange setup I got going off. Fucking weird little place I'm at as well, it looks like, in the camera. Merry Christmas. There's a quote, I think it's by Henry Thoreau, I don't know. It says, like, the mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation. And I'm cold. I realise there's no heating. This is a bit shit, actually. So yeah, the reason I say that is because I think a lot of people, I can't find anything warm to put on. A lot of people seem to, go after material things they consume, and they go after just purely material goals and goals pertaining to status, like a job promotion, X amount of followers on social media, and when they hit that goal, it's never enough. And I guess you can focus on developing yourself. Like, I read a book a while ago called The Only Way to Win, which was about having goals of self-development, character trait development. And this may be more admirable, but I don't even think this is the highest good. One of the thoughts in this Ride the Tiger book I'm reading was about essentially the homogenization of people, of the masses, who just go through this individuation process. They're chasing after individualization. People who, you look on every person's Instagram, everything seems to be different but the same. I don't know how to. It's really hard to kind of articulate myself here in this regard. But I guess you can look at the hipsters, right? They're all essentially hip. They all want to be different. They all wanted to be different, and the product of that was that they all fucking ended up being about the same, right? And I think the thought that Evola is kind of writing about is the notion of people who just go after developing their individual, developing their person, will essentially never become self-actualized. This transcendent he talks about is what I believe is the transcending of oneself. So that's not just, I don't think that's just self-overcoming, but I think it's almost, realizing that we cannot just become fulfilled through trying to develop our ego, right? I think a lot of people are focused on fulfilling their ego's desires, and the problem with that is that they will never go fulfilled. There is always a lack for the ego. It's never satisfied. It's never satiated. And this homogenization I'm talking about is where everyone, because of society, because of how Western thought has essentially progressed, has essentially developed to a point where it's me in this world. It's like the Cartesian notion, right? It's me and the other. It's not. There's a stark duality. It's not the case of I am part of this world. It is I am in this world, right? So it's me separate from the world. I am my own self, my own body, whatever, and the world around me is completely separate rather than me being part of it, right? This is essentially Cartesian thought, which through the Enlightenment age and through the Renaissance and whatever, and through Industrial Revolution, has sort of been ingrained completely into man's thought of seeing the world in Western society, and now more so in Eastern society, as they have come to pedestalize the West. The Western consumer is Western consumerism and the material way of looking at the world. You know, look at like Tokyo, Shanghai, Hong Kong, Seoul, etc. Mainly big, you know, bustling capitals where business is just lucrative and they're trying to play catch up in a game which they believe will probably believe would lead them to fulfillment, which, as we see in the West, it really generally does not, right? So, what is my overall thought on this? What is my, you know, idea behind this? To put it concisely, I guess, because as I say, this is just something I've been toying with, entertaining. This is what I've just been entertaining for a little while, and I guess what I'm trying to say is that the idea of just developing yourself for yourself, you know, lowercase s, you know, the ego, I think that's it's destined for failure if the goal is fulfillment. I don't think that means, you know, you have to just dedicate yourself to a god or anything like that, not at all. You can call it a higher power, a cause, or something that transcends the self, you know, something that transcends the I, the me. And I think that's why a lot of fulfilling work can be found when you're helping others. So in humanitarian aid, for example, the author of the book, Ride the Tiger, gave the example of like working in a monastery, being a monk, you know, working to a higher cause, a cause higher than oneself, and obviously through monastery work and practice, you know, monkish living, however you want to coin it, you are also dissolving the ego. You are, you know, breaking away, chipping away the guise, the facade, the mirage that is ego. So obviously that works hand in hand with you working for a higher cause, you know. I think that's about it for today. Yeah, what have I done today? Today's just been a bit of food, good walk, decent amount of reading, spending time with family. I guess I came to record this now because I was next to my mum, who was just, we were watching a movie, and then she'd like laugh at the bits, like like just hysterically, like that, at the bits which were like, she wouldn't even be paying attention, she'd be on her phone, but when she like hears a cue for like laughter, it's like laugh, and that's, to me, it's just like, makes me anxious, really irks me. Seems to be like there's no concentration or thought. It's like, social cue to do this, so I react. That's, I mean, I'm you know, I'm really distilling it down and not really explaining the exact scenario very well, or scenarios very well, but that's the crux of it. It irks me, basically. So yeah, and also, you know, I mean, I could talk to her, and I could talk to probably many people about how they are individuals, but I mean, when you're around, I don't know, man, you know, when you're around so many people who would claim themselves to be absolute individuals, you know, so much that, you know, differentiates them from everyone else. They just seem to be, all these specks of individuality seem to coalesce into some, you know, some slurry, some sludge of obscurity, you know. It really does, man. Yeah, it really does. And people, you know, they would say that, okay, so this silent desperation thing, I think it was Farouk who said, you can look at people and you can ask them, are you happy? Like I could ask my mum, are you happy? Oh yeah, happy, woohoo, life is great, woo. But that's completely different in observation, and there's a lot of hypocrisy, and it's kind of absurd, really, with the, you know, they think positive and the good vibes only and all this shit, but they're actually just negative people. They are just subscribing to these, they're identifying with these they're identifying with these notions, these sort of feel good bullshit, new age shite. They're just identifying with it, attributing themselves with these notions, and then saying they live like it when they don't, and it's obvious just in observation. And maybe my subjective perspective is skewed, but generally you can notice, and I have to check myself if I'm being judgmental, or if I'm just being objectively perceiving. And generally, yeah, sometimes maybe I'm judging a bit harshly, but sometimes you can tell when someone's just complaining when there's no reason to complain. And I've noticed when I've observed conversations between people and all they've done is complain, it's amazing. It's astounding, really. It's sometimes hilarious if it wasn't so sad, I guess. Yeah, I think that's me done. I think. Yeah, so people just subscribe to these ideals to make them feel like they're good, essentially. They delude themselves into thinking that they're living right. But then in reality, if you took away the distractions, because if you notice, the distractions can be as simple as work. The distractions can be just complaining about work. The distractions can be television. The distraction can be food, sex, just relationships, phones. Phones is just unbelievable. Social media, these sort of, sometimes, well, obviously everything's, well, not obviously, but everything's transitory, but these fleeting and shallow relationships, digital relationships, mostly 80% is texting on the phone and 20% might be seeing the other person face to face. They merely serve as a distraction from this quiet desperation, this quiet existential desperation. And I think that's where the term angst comes from. This angst, which is essentially a separation between how they perceive themselves, or how they would like to be, should I say, and how they actually are. These distractions sort of blur the cloud, the water. They blur this separation, so they can live without fucking committing suicide or going mad or facing despair. So the despair they face is actually quite silent. Whew, fucking hell, I felt good. That was a long one. That was a long rant, and I think there was, maybe not, but that was somewhat coherent, I think, considering it was just like a vague concept. Merry Christmas. Have a great day. Eat a lot of chocolate. Christmas isn't Christmas without a lot of chocolate, cake, television, family. If you haven't got family, you're fucked. You can't experience Christmas. You have to be with family. If you're alone, loser, virgin. You're not got a partner, a girlfriend, or a boyfriend. Fag. You're shit. Get good. Conform. Right, okay, have a good day. Evening. Bye.